IC3 Presidential Forum. After a fantastic dinner last night, let's harness that energy as we dive into 2 exciting days of discussions, learning, and networking. We're thrilled to have both new faces and returning champions amongst us. This year, we're breaking records with over 300 leaders from almost 20 countries present, our largest presidential forum ever. From the vibrant cities of India to the stunning landscapes of Japan, Hong Kong, Kazakhstan, Georgia, the Netherlands, Cameroon, Zimbabwe, the US, UK, and others, we have voices from 6 continents gathered here. Next year, we would just need someone from Antarctica. A heartfelt thank you and welcome to this extraordinary group of thought leaders and change makers. Your passion for making a difference in the lives of students and shaping the future of education is what makes this event truly special. We can't wait to hear your perspectives and dive into the pressing issues that matter most to our organizations. I would like to invite the chair of the IC3 Presidential Committee, Ms. Michelle Whittingham, Associate Vice Chancellor of Enrollment Management from University of California, Santa Cruz, to say a few opening remarks.
Wow, what an honor it is to be here and a privilege to welcome all of you to the IC3 Presidential Forum. As mentioned, my name is Michelle Whittingham. I'm the Associate Vice Chancellor of Enrollment Management at the University of California, Santa Cruz. But I think what's most meaningful for me, especially today, has been my work with all of you, with the IC3 family. I was first welcomed into the family in 2017 when Rupa Ma'am was the very first school at Sun City, where many of you were last night, who hosted the first presidential forum. And so, like any good experience with IC3, I completely fell in love. And so literally that's when I joined this amazing community. Myself, I feel like an eternal student. I am all of your student in terms of how much I continue to learn and grow every year. And one of the messages I heard from Ambassador Garcetti that I really resonated with was leading with love. And I think that really resonates with the movement, with the IC3 movement and all the work that we do. Because when I think we're really champions for counseling in every school and counseling for every student, I want to add in counseling for every counselor and every administrator at high schools and universities, because it's all about finding that purpose. That is our message about counseling. And so I know for me, the whole IC3 movement has really rejuvenated my career. I know way back in 1985 and 86 is when I first kind of fell in love with the international community as an exchange student in the country of Panama. I don't know if we have anybody here from Panama. Who's closest to Panama? Which countries? Okay, thank you. I have a couple over there. Okay, bienvenidos. So I just go back to 85, 86, and I never would have imagined standing in this room today and working with all of you on literally making this world a better place by bringing more purpose to everything that we do on behalf of students. And as we all heard, that is our future. It's very good that we're investing the time and energy in our students like we see here today. The Presidential Forum is really near and dear to me. I have some amazing colleagues really since 2017 when Rupa really chaired for a couple years. Is Rupa Ma'am here yet? And I know this was me last night, right? Where's Michelle? Sorry about that. Yes, I was the one being referenced last night. A little bit of a delay from Asant Valley School, but you know what? You make it. You do the best that you can. So it's very apropos that Rupa Ma'am is not here yet. But we really had this vision, and Ganesh, I want to thank you as well to ensure that we're providing an opportunity for the leaders of the universities, of the schools, the decision makers, the influencers, because a lot of grassroots efforts can be really successful. But what happens when you join the grassroots, the counselors and the leaders from the institutions, the high schools, as well as the universities? What happens? Anything? Hello? Maybe? to me, it's magic. It's that synergy. You know, we can both do okay leading from the top or leading and pushing up from the bottom. But when we come together as an entire team at all different levels and the intersectionality of the type of our institutions, that's when the opportunity to have global impact is really realized. And so we have worked hard and tirelessly and passionately to bring this presidential forum together. And there's many of you in the audience who have been an incredible panelist in the past who could be here today. And so we have a highly esteemed group of individuals who are going to share a lot of their passion and expertise with you. And our biggest hope is to continue to inspire you with some of today's, biggest topics and ensure that we continue to build these relationships that started not only last night, but often decades ago, and hopefully decades into the future, as we every single minute of every single day of every single month get closer and closer to counseling in every school and counseling for every student. So welcome to this year's IC3 Presidential Forum. And I hope you enjoy everything that you will be experiencing over the next few days and well into the future.
Thank you, Michelle. We would now like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank CSU, the California State University, for bringing this transformative program to us all. A huge thank you for your support and for the IC3 2024 Presidential Forum. We are grateful to be able to bring together such a phenomenal group of leaders for 2 days of purposeful discussions. We will discuss what it means to be a leader today, how we can think bigger, understand our place in this new AI world, and how to look inward for direction and purpose. We couldn't do that without the support of the California State University. Let's make these next 2 days unforgettable. The annual IC3 Conference and Expo couldn't happen without the support of our sponsors. And in particular, we would like to thank our host sponsor, Atlas Skill Tech University, for not only supporting the mission of counseling in every school, but also being an ally of the IC3 mission year after year. Mr. Siddharth Shahani, the co-founder and executive president of our 2024 annual IC3 Conference and Expo host sponsor, Atlas Skill Tech University, will welcome this delegation this morning. Mr. Shahani has been instrumental in working with the government of Maharashtra to establish a future-focused framework for a new genre of innovation-driven urban universities. He's responsible for executing the vision and directing the university's overall performance and growth. He's a trained pharmacist graduating from the University College London and his master's in international health policy and economics from London School of Economics and Political Science. Please welcome Mr. Shahani for a short welcome address.
Wow. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's such an honor and privilege to be in front of you, to welcome you to the panel, which really, as a host university, I think we've been very, very proud of the conference that we've seen so far. And really, I personally believe as a young president and founder of Atlas Skill Tech University, trying to make its mark in today's constantly disrupting higher education space, that both the themes today are so crucial and relevant to us, and especially in the age of AI and the age of disruptive leadership, the meaningfulness of these panels, I can't underscore it anymore. As educators, as leaders, we all share the immense responsibility of nurturing the leaders of the future. And it is our actions which will determine the future of mankind, and we must set big, ambitious, and audacious goals today to ensure a brighter future for the communities around us. I do believe we also spend a lot of time worrying about what AI will replace rather than thinking, how can we be unreplaceable? And I want to use the words of Jack Ma, who, by the way, was a teacher, right? And also led the e-commerce revolution in the world. He said, we have to teach our children something so unique that machines can't replace them. And what are those? It's values, it's believing, it's independent thinking, the soft skills, sports, music, painting, creativity that really makes sure we humans are not going to be replaced by machines. All of this is in our hands as we treat the next generations to come. On behalf of IC3 and Atlas Skilltech University, I wish the panelists all the very best because I truly believe that what is discussed here today will have far-reaching conclusions, and really we hope for the benefit of all mankind as educators we can lead the change. Thank you very much and look forward to interacting with you throughout the day. And I want to give another round of applause to Mr. Kohli I've been supporting IC3 for many years, but this is my first conference, and I'm really taken away by what I've seen here this afternoon. So thank you very much and wishing you all the very best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shahani, for that enlightening address. Before we begin today's panel discussions, I'd like to welcome the founder of the IC3 movement and the chair of the board for the IC3 Institute, Mr. Ganesh Kohli, to the stage to set the tone of this year's forum. A warm welcome for Mr. Ganesh.
Thank you. I've already spoken quite a bit. Thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure to see all the educators here, and I've just got such stellar people that are going to come on stage through today and tomorrow. So please enjoy your time here, and if we can do anything to make your stay at the IC3 conference better, please keep us posted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ganesh, sir, for that inspiring introduction to kick off these next 2 days. Your reminder to find purpose in our work will undoubtedly fuel the conversations ahead as we gather to lead our institutions into the future. Let's embrace this inspiration and make the most of our time together. Get ready for an exciting 2 days packed with incredible insights and dynamic discussions. We have 3 fantastic panel sessions lined up, starting with 2 panels today separated by a networking break. We are thrilled to create a memorable and engaging experience for all of you over the next 2 days. Welcome to our first thought-provoking panel, Think Bigger, Why Does It Matter? I want to welcome the panel's moderator, Ms. Vanita Uppal, OBE, Director of British School, New Delhi. Ms. Uppal is a renowned international educator for over 30 years and is the only Indian principal to receive the Order of the British Empire for her services to education. She's a member of the IB Global Heads Council, an advisory body to the Director General of the IBO, the chair of the Executive Board of Fibisia, and the chair of the International Division of HMC UK. To serve to make a difference is her mantra. Please welcome Ms. Uppal to begin the panel discussions.
Good afternoon. Am I audible at the back? Over the coffee as well? Yeah? Okay, pretty good. I have a teacher's voice, so it's still working. So, good afternoon, and thank you very much, Anasuya and Brishriti. Have I pronounced the name correctly? As an international educator, that was one of my first lessons. You can't hear me? Can't hear. Either we switch off the coffee. Give me the, let's try that. Check. When you run the first panel, my other 2 colleagues who are moderators are happily sitting there saying this is the test run. Very nice, Caroline and Nargis, very nice. So, good afternoon, and am I too loud now? No, I'm okay. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here. And as everybody's been saying since morning, that was the magic. No coffee, please. This is a punishment posting. Next one, no coffee. All right, guys? Okay. So, since morning, we've been talking about resilience, leading with love. What I took away from the ambassador's address were 2 things. One was, stay humble. I honestly believe as an educator that the word humility is rapidly disappearing from our dictionaries and our vocabulary. That's just food for thought. But I'm not here to talk about that. Let's move on to the panel. So I am delighted and honored to invite our distinguished panelists, and you have to hear them and you'll say, yes, distinguished indeed, for our ensuing panel discussion and of course, to kickstart the Presidential Forum for the IC3 Annual Conference 2024. No drum roll here, I see. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But before we delve into the discussion on thinking big and why does it matter, I have the privilege to introduce my very illustrious panel. They've all been instructed, you know what to do. When I call out your name, you're going to come up and sit here, right? Okay. So let me begin with Dr. Delcy Perez, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic and Student Affairs, Chief Student Affairs Officer, the California State University. Delcy, could I request you to come to the stage? With more than 23 years of experience in different facets of student life, Dr. Perez is a staunch advocate of equity and belonging. For her efforts to advance student success and equity, Dr. Perez was recently recognized with the California State Student Association's Administrator of the Year Award. That deserves an applause, I think. Committed to supporting young people to get equitable opportunities, Dr. Perez brings her wisdom, passion, and expertise to the panel. Dr. Perez holds a doctorate in educational leadership from the San Diego State University, a master's degree in administration from the Central Michigan University, and a bachelor's degree in political science from CSU. Now, you know, whenever we introduce panelists, we have very amazing CVs, which all my panelists have. I made a request to them, and I can tell you they're all risk takers, and they agreed. I said, give me a little something about yourself that is not in any CV that you've ever published. And all three of them have been very kind. So I'm going to start with you. So Dr. Perez is willing to share that she went to 6 community colleges and 2 universities to complete her bachelor's degree, that she completed her high school in Japan, talk about being internationally open-minded, and she was raised as an adopted child. Dr. Perez, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. Thank you. Warm welcome to her, please. Our second panelist is Dr. Maral Patrick, an Iranian motorcyclist, fashion designer, artist, motivational speaker, and campaigner of women's rights. Armed with a bachelor's, yes, you want to give her a clap already. Okay, all right. Okay. Armed with a bachelor's degree in business development from the University of Tehran, she relocated to India to pursue her master's degree and MBA, and then a PhD in marketing from the University of Pune. Then she went on to study fashion design in Milan, and in 2012 launched the fashion house label House of Maral, Yazurlu. Her debut as a fashion designer took place in no other place but good old Paris, with subsequent showcases in Rome, London, India, and Dubai. Now, here's the best part. Dr. Maral is the first woman to earn a Ducati and BMW GS motorcycle in India. In March 2017, Dr. Maral embarked on a solo world biking tour across all 7 continents without a backup team. Starting in India, her journey covered 64 countries and spanned over 110,000 kilometers over 18 months. This groundbreaking, let's hear it for Dr. Maral. This groundbreaking solo bike ride aimed to defy stereotypes and set a new women's biking record in Asia and the Middle East. In 2018, BBC recognized her as one of their most 100 inspiring and influential women from around the world. Economic Times gave her the ET Gen Next Icons Award. Now, just have to share a little personal thing. Dr. Maral is actually a parent at the British School in New Delhi. And we had invited her to speak at one of our award ceremonies. The standing ovation that she got did not stop. We had to tell people to sit, because you haven't seen the video at some other conference. I'll show that to you. But anyway, now, in addition to that, what most people don't know about Dr. Maral is that she's also a black belt in karate. And she was teaching karate at the age of 14. She wasn't fluent in English when she came to India. So she had to learn the language. and study her course. And for somebody who's traveled to more than 113 countries, not on just the bike, she made a very candid confession. And it's unbelievable. Her sense of direction is not great. And she gets lost in her own neighborhood. So let's hear it for Dr. Moral. Okay. Last but definitely not the least is Mr. Francisco Marmolejo, the Higher Education President and Education Advisor at the Qatar Foundation. I got the name right, sir? Yes, thank you. At the foundation, Mr. Marmolejo works to support 8 prestigious universities established at the Education City in Doha, offering more than 70 academic programs to students from over 110 countries. Now, here's his experience. It's mind-blowing. His extensive experience includes his tenure at the World Bank, where he served as the Global Coordinator of Higher Education based in Washington, D.C., and later as Lead Higher Education Specialist for India and South Asia based in Delhi. Prior to this, he served as the founding Executive Director of the Consortium for North American Higher Education Collaboration, a network of more than 160 colleges and universities from Mexico, Canada, and the US, based at the University of Arizona. He has also been on the American Council as an Education Fellow at the University of Massachusetts, and it goes on. He's a Senior Fellow at NAFSA and also a Founding Scholar. He has received an honorary doctorate degrees in Mexico from 5 Mexican universities. There's not one here that would give me one after 35 years, by the way. Okay, but he's got 5 universities that have given him doctorates, including his alma mater, the University of San Luis Potosi. Now, what's the interesting fact about him? It's still working, yeah. Now, Mr. Francisco also loves traveling, but he hastened to tell me, not on a bike, Vanitha, not on a bike. I love traveling. He has recently completed his travel to his 100th country. Which one was that, sir? Tajikistan. And he hopes on his bucket list is Antarctica. So that's my panel. I'm going to join them on the stage and continue with this discussion. Can I have a loud round of applause for them, please? So, when you have such a powerhouse of a panel here, you obviously want to make the most of it. So, we thought we are going to delve into the concept of thinking big. Now, if we were to believe, and I'm asking everybody in the audience, that the quantum of one's success is determined by the size of our self-belief, then thinking big is a moral imperative, right? Because it depends on what we believe. But what does thinking big really mean? Is it an oversimplified understanding of thinking that I can dream big, I can act big, in the process I can make everybody else look small, therefore I'm big? We hope to explore over the next 1 hour, maybe 1 hour is, ooh, can I get that back, please? Over the next 1 hour, what we hope to explore is that thinking big is non-linear. It's not that it moves from one thing to the next. When Martin Luther King gave his iconic speech, I have a dream, he did not have any KPIs, any indicators for performance, right? He didn't. What did he give to the people? He gave to the people a dream that was bigger than them, a dream that they could identify with, a dream that they wanted to collectively fulfill. And that's the power of a big dream. We very often, I personally believe this as an educator and as a human being, we very subconsciously place our own limits on our belief. We do, without thinking it, we do it subconsciously. And yet, there are people who have audacious goals. We'll get floored by their imagination. We'll get floored by their ambition. And we keep telling ourselves that that's not me. I am not that great person. I can't be that human being who can be inspired or inspire others. Contrary to that is the belief that each one of us can. What we are also going to look, at least I hope we can over the next 1 hour, might not be long enough, to see that in this entire journey of dreaming big, and we obviously are educators, like it's been said all morning, we are working with young people, they are the future, they are going to inherit the mess of the world that we've made and hopefully try and fix it with the skills and dispossessions hopefully we will give to them while they are in our care. So what kind of leadership is actually going to enable thousands and millions of young people to feel that they too can think big? So, tall order for the session, but without further ado, I'm going to ask my panelists to give their opinion, their opening remarks on this idea. Dr. Perez, may I please start with you? Sure. Keep one mic at that.
Good afternoon. It is wonderful to be here with you all today, and wonderful, and I'm humbled to be on this panel. I look forward to the conversation that we will have today. I actually, as we mentioned earlier, I went to 6 different community colleges, and people are thinking you're not that smart. But what I will tell you is I grew up in a military family and traveled quite a bit, actually, with my father, who was in the Air Force. And so I've lived in places in the states of California, Georgia, Arizona, Maine, Okinawa, North Carolina, and just traveled around a lot. And when I graduated in Okinawa, I didn't feel like I had a place to call home and wasn't sure where I was going to go to college, although both of my parents had college degrees. They really literally left me on my own to figure out where I was going to go and what I was going to do. And so I left Okinawa, and at one point, this might show my age, there was a movie called Silence of the Lambs. And I thought at one point I wanted to be an FBI agent till I saw that, and I was like, I'm good. And for the young folks, it's a great movie. It's a little scary though. But and then I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. Then I wasn't sure what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. But what I knew is that I had to start taking college classes. And so I moved to North Carolina, and I just began going to community college. And at some point I said, I want to go to a university. And so I went to the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and in the South, which, if you know anything about the States, life on the West Coast is very different than life in the South. Racism is very clear. You know who does not like you. You know where you do not belong. But I will tell you that I will never exchange that experience for anything, because it has really fed into who I am as an advocate for social justice and equity. But I could go through all of the aspects of my life, but essentially what happened is wherever I moved to with my husband, who was a Marine in the United States Marine Corps, I was taking classes because I knew I wanted to get a degree. We moved to California, and I graduated with my degree in poli-sci, and I would tell you that I felt very lost, very, very lost. I wasn't sure what my purpose was going to be in life, what my career was going to be, and I knew that I had gotten a degree and felt like I really wasn't doing what I was supposed to or intend to do. At that point, I started working for California State University at San Marcos. And so what you may not know is that there are 23 universities in the CSU. It is the largest 4-year public university in the nation in California. And there are 460,000 students and 4.5 million, if not 4.6 by now, alumni. So I began to work in outreach. I did all kinds of jobs. But essentially, what I will tell you is that it almost took 13 years of my career to begin to understand where I was meant to be. I was promoted to a role called Dean of Students. And I had done a lot. I had done student life. I had done outreach. I had just done all kinds of things. And I was sitting helping a family that had lost their son to death. And I sat there consoling the family and helping to make sure that the university had done everything that it was doing, that the students were taken care of, that I realized that that was where I wanted and needed to be. To serve families, to serve people in a time of crisis was very important to me as an administrator in doing the work. Long story short, essentially as I began to get promoted, I felt, and in the States we talk about imposter syndrome. I felt like I was in spaces that I wasn't qualified for, or that sometimes you feel like you do not deserve. And I would sit and oftentimes say, who am I to be in this space advocating for students? I was not traditionally trained in higher education. My degree's in administration and org development. I felt like I was trying to make change at each of at the university that I was at. And I essentially went to get my doctorate at San Diego State, and I moved forward to become a vice president. But what I will tell you is that even as an administrator who was supposed to have everything together, I realized that we're always also on a constant journey of learning and growing, even as we are doing the work and advocating and supporting other people. I will tell you that in student affairs, we have what we call traditional student affairs practitioners, that I did not feel like I was a traditional student affairs person. But I share this story with you because the way in which I fell into the California State University and serving in the chancellor's office is that the person who thought they weren't equipped to be in student affairs is now leading the system of 23 and working on behalf of the system and the advocacy. And so I start by saying that when you think about the magnitude of the work that we do, for me, thinking big is not thinking about what am I going to do to impact 460,000 students. It's thinking big in everyday moments is what's important. That leads to big change that has a ripple effect that then takes on a life of its own, like IC3. It becomes a movement that's just not about one individual. It begins to take on a whole new meaning. And so as we share throughout today, I'm happy to share more about some of the things that we're doing in the system, because what we know in the United States and even in the CSU is that we are graduating more students than ever before, but the reality is our Black and brown students, we're losing them like never before. That we have a moral responsibility to change our systems and structures in order to help students be more successful and graduate to move on so that we can change their lives and also their families' lives. And so I will tell you that I am excited about thinking big, but even more importantly, I think my past, my experience, that with my family, has prepared me for this moment to think that it is my responsibility to do what I can to change our institutions so that every single student that comes to our universities are able to graduate.
Thank you very much, Dr. Brace. What an amazing opening address. And I think, I'm sure the audience taken a lot from there, but I loved what you said. It's about thinking big every day, making every moment count. And then you talked about the power of the collective, that how you can do things collectively. I'm going to move to Mr. Marbalejo next.
Well, there is too much I also can, share. Although after hearing what we hear, I think it is really inspiring to hear you the way that you have described your journey. I truly believe that in order to think bigger and act bigger, we need to be inspired. We need to identify who are those individuals that can serve in some way as a role model to us. And also to never lose your sense of hope. In my personal journey, one person who influenced me a lot, inspired me a lot, and also shared with me that sense of hope was my grandmother. I come from a rural town in Mexico, and she was an extraordinary individual, as I'm sure that many of your relatives in your respective families. She lived in 3 different centuries. She lived for 108 years. She was born in 1899, and she became the grandmother of the town because of that situation. But anyways, she lost, her husband. My grandfather was killed during the last civil war in Mexico. And even at a very young age, with 5 kids, she had to, make sure that the family will survive, and that she did it. And even though she had a very difficult time, I remember that she always was smiling. She always had this sense of optimism about life. And also, she had a lot of faith. She always assumed that it was a reason for her to be here. I remember when she was very old, we were joking with her about her age and everything else, and she said, I don't know. There is a reason for me to be here, and while I'm here, I will enjoy what I will do here. So anyway, just to make the story on her case, when she died, she basically said one morning, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, and then that's it. That was the end of her journey. But she inspired not only me, but many people in my hometown that really see Doña Alejita as that woman who was always smiling, always working, and always being hopeful about a better future. And that is what it really sort of allowed me to think that, yeah, there is hope in this life, that we have something that we need to do, and that also that we need to work hard for that. In such way that I truly believe that dreams, ideas about the future, is not something that we dream about, but that we should work for. That we cannot extrapolate the future, we cannot guess the future. We should build the future, and this is what really pushed me to work in education. Because when I was younger, I loved politics and I wanted to do more political work. I was for 2 years in the seminary because I was going to be a priest, but then I was kicked out from the seminary. I don't know why. I can tell you about that, but off the record. But then when I finished school, when I finished the university, I really assumed that I needed to continue working something that is very important, which relates to what Nancy had already mentioned. That we in education, all of us who have been in higher education, are truly privileged. Because there are many more that had exactly the same right as we had, but that because the accident of geography, the postal code, the origins of the family, didn't have the same opportunities as we had. And for that matter, we truly must assume a responsibility toward those who, again, didn't have the same possibilities as we had. And that's what inspires me to continue working for the rest of my life in education, and specifically in higher education.
Thank you so much. My God, amazing. Inspiration, faith, hope, hard work, a positive can-do attitude, and building the future. I love that. We can't dream about the future, we have to build it. Dr. Moral, your opening remarks.
Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be here. And last night, whoever that met me asked me which organization or college or university I'm coming from. And this definitely is not my field. And I have to tell you, I am the result of your hard work. Because I'm the one who went to school, universities, and then higher education. And someone like you guys were the one who actually trained me to be who I am today. And to mention, my mother is a teacher, and then she was the principal of this school. And I'm married to a family they are all teachers and working with a different school. And when I got a call from her, for me was a very interesting topic. Because when we say, think big, how much is big? because my big is different with your big and anybody else's big. And how can we set this limit? Who can be the right person to tell us where to go, how to go, what is big for me, where I want to go? And that's come back to all the training that we will be getting from the day one. Maybe people think when the kids are born, maybe people think when the kids are 3 years old, maybe people think when the kids are in a school. For me, the feeling and the education start as soon as a baby is in the mother womb, because that's a place that the kids start getting it. And what wasn't mentioned here is I left for the world ride and I left my corporate job. I was a vice president of one of the very big companies in India. After 12 years of working, I decided to go and find answers, because I read in a book, I went through the college, universities, and I did remember all the formula. But the one thing I really wanted to know is about the formula of the life. What is happiness? What is our dream? Where we want to go? Because it doesn't matter. We do not find one person in this world which is always happy, because we just go up, coming down, go up. But what is one thing that we want to follow and we know we are on the right path? For me, always dream and where I want to go is that answer. And how you can navigate that, it all starts from what we learn, how we train our mind. And that's the reason when I heard that, so you don't know that, I'm going to tell you that. I've been going up and down, confusing my mind, and I was going here and there, because all of us have that time in our life. I mean, sometimes I have to remind myself, I'm the girl who sat on a motorcycle, went around the world, not to mention I got married in Machu Picchu. One day after the marriage, I left my dear husband, and I came back home after 1 year. And my husband would come every month and meet me. Starting Africa, I was pregnant. And then I had to choose, do I live my dream? Or like go back home, or I continue? Society tells us a responsible mother is the one who takes care of the child. I agree with society, but what about the mother? If I want to go back home, look at my child and say, you are the reason I didn't achieve my dream, but mommy loves you. And any time after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, I look at her, when I'm in my lowest level of energy, I look at her, you know what? I couldn't finish the world because, mommy loves you. That's why I decided to choose me. I checked with my husband, and my husband is 50%, I'm 50%. And I definitely had reason to marry that guy, because his answer was, your body, your mind, our child, you take the decision. I said, I continue. I carried on, 6.5 months pregnant on a motorcycle. I came back home, gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, which goes to her school now, and she's gonna be 6 soon, and you have to see that child. God bless you. You know her mom. But everything comes back to us as a human. I know there's a saying, they say sky is the limit. I disagree. I think our mind is the limit. Where your mind tells you stop, that's a limit. And that was the thing I didn't learn, which in the conversation that we're gonna get into, I'm gonna share with you how really does matter the single word you tell to your student, and how that can build everything up and make something like that. And I'm here as an example, Iranian woman, which in my country, even sitting on a motorcycle is against the law. Riding a cycle is against the law. And most of the world, when I crossed, they look at me and they were like, where are you from? I'm like, Iran. They were like, where is that exactly? I said, check the news. We do everything every day. You know where is Iran. And I told that to my mother-in-law and said, when you want to say your daughter-in-law is from Iran, check BBC first. But that's the thing, and it's just like we're gonna continue, and then I'm gonna share more when it comes to the conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Moral. Mummy does love you. Yeah, Mummy does love you. Thank you very much for that very authentic opening remark. I'm coming back to you, Dr. Perez. In your role at CSU, what is your big dream and why is it important?
Thank you. I would say to you that based on my story, coming to the chancellor's office was a humbling experience to me. Because I think that when you work on one campus, one university, you develop intimate relationships, responsibility for the community. When I came to the chancellor's office, I really carry the weight, and many of us in the chancellor's office, of 23 universities. And what I will say to you is what I don't want to do is waste this moment, to waste my voice, to waste, I think, everything that I have done in my past that I believe has prepared me for this moment. And I share that to say that what I talked to you about was that we're losing students every day. And I think in higher education, particularly in America, we are desensitized to that. We bring students in, right? We say you can have higher education, it's a dream. But then when they reach challenges and face problems, we don't necessarily have the support systems in place to help them not leave. Many students leave without a college degree but loan and debt. And that's not okay. And so for me, I would say to you, my dream is that one, we don't see ourselves as an institution, but as a community and a network of support for students. What I hope is that when students come, when challenges arise, because they will, that we are there to catch them, to guide them, and to support them as individuals, because every individual needs something different. But what I really hope is that we help them to graduate, because every single thing that we do should be to help them get their degree and to pursue their educational goals, whatever that may be. Every journey is different, and we should not be so rigid that we cannot adapt our style or for the student's learning style. I would also say really quickly that I think internships and apprenticeships are very important, applied learning for students to be in the workforce and to really get experience. And then as our chancellor talks about, global experiences and really being able to live out their education, not just in a classroom.
That's amazing. So that big dream is to ensure, as we say in schools, that no child is left behind. Your big dream is that no student is left behind at CSU, and that you're providing that support structure for them to achieve what they came to achieve. I'm coming to you, Mr. Marbelleo. It's easy, some might argue, to sound inspirational and ask young people to dream big. We do it very often, school leaders definitely. In your experience, what has enabled big dreams to become a reality?
Can I? Okay, very good. Well, a big advantage of asking about my experience is that I'm very old. So I can talk a lot about experiences in the past. But no, I will refer to an experience that I'm having right now. I have the privilege of working at an amazing organization, which a few years ago, it was just an idea. And that because the inspiration, the aspiration, and the dedication, which I think are fundamental, it has become a true reality. For the ones who don't know, Qatar Foundation is a kind of an umbrella of more than 50 different organizations, which create a very unique ecosystem in which the motto we have is that Qatar Foundation is there to unlock the human potential. And all of that began because the inspiration and dedication of one person, which is Sheikh Hamosa bin Nasser, who 25 years ago, she said, there is something that we need to do in order to unlock the human potential. Now, Qatar is a country that has a long history, but at the same time, in the current stage as a state of Qatar, is younger than me, is a country younger than me. And 25 years ago in Qatar, there was only one university, which was a normal school. Today is the National University, Qatar University. But at that time, that was the only educational offering for kids in the country. And then at that time, this dedication of Sheikh Hamosa said, let's figure out a way to really create a new city of enlightenment in this place. And then over the years, more than different institutions, now there is an ecosystem of more than 22 educational institutions, from kindergarten to doctoral education, that includes schools for kids with special needs, that includes schools with no curriculum, with no students, with no teachers, because they have facilitators of knowledge, learners, and then each of the personal journey of education of the student is there. And also this ecosystem of universities in which students can take classes from any of the other universities in this very unique space that brings together institutions from different parts of the world. And also entities such as ABP, which, by the way, the director of ABP is here, the Academic Bridge Program that basically brings together also the connection between the high school and the university. Again, this idea used to be 25 years ago a completely crazy idea. Today is a true reality. And let me give you just one final example of why that works. In Qatar years ago, education and higher education for girls was not very possible. Today, Qatar has the largest share of female higher education enrollment in the world. In Qatar Foundation, 70% of our students are female students. In one of the universities, the STEM program in female students in engineering is much larger than the one in the home campus in the United States. And again, those are just a few examples of inspiration, aspiration, and dedication to unlock the human potential.
Absolutely amazing. You've got those three words, right? Inspiration, aspiration, dedication. And I'll go back to his original idea. It starts with a crazy idea. It starts with ideation. Somebody has to have that vision, to have that idea, to say, let's do it. Thank you so much. Dr. Maral, dreaming big and shattering many glass ceilings as you have done defines your life. How did you do what you have done?
To be honest, when I started doing it, I never knew that I want to shatter any, stereotype or break any glasses, because that wasn't my agenda. My agenda was, that's my dream and I want to reach there. And on the way, apparently, I did a lot of things that you said. And, the thing is, when you know where you want to go, you really put your full potential and energy to go. And it does really help. If someone in your childhood told you nothing is impossible in this world, and my mom was that person, like she would just keep saying, okay, you want to do this? Nothing is impossible in this world. And now when I have a child, I know how they pick up each and everything that they've been told to. And now with this world, which all the mom and dads are busy working, social media is killing, I think this is all of you guys who keep telling the children what they're gonna really keep with them to the rest of their journey. And for me, yes, I just didn't have it in my head, it is not possible. Just a very quick example. When I resigned in my job and decided to go for a world, first of all, everybody were telling me impossible. And I didn't even understand why they said it's impossible. And then I was just like, no, this is possible. And then as soon as I applied, the only way out of India by road was Myanmar. Myanmar still is closed. They call it Burma or Myanmar. My visa got rejected. And then everybody says, see, we told you. And I'm like, the first country that is the only way to go out. But because I knew there always will be a way, I went on my bike, came to Delhi, went straight away, fully geared with my helmet to Myanmar. I said, I need my visa. I will not leave till the time I get it. And then I got They gave it to me and they were so kind. And I was just like, okay. And this was my experience.
I don't think they were kind. They just wanted you to go away.
No, I went there like black belt done to karate.
Yeah, okay,
and they're
done.
like very kind.
I probably frightened them into submission. Okay.
Yeah. You know, that's the thing. For whoever this story that you hear is not about only me. Mine, because of the background I'm coming from, like because being Iranian, and to just add on to that, I entered Iran as a first woman biker, officially and openly, because there will be some other people to sit as a pillion to go in. I said no. I went solo by myself, got into Iran, asked the government to change the law for women, and that was with the risk of I could get arrested because I was doing something against the law. And nobody knew that I'm pregnant. Nobody knew. But I did it because I wanted to do. You hear anyone's story, which they have done something and reached somewhere, which was against everyone believe that is possible, is only their determination. And they think it is possible, and they go and get it. And this is the idea which I'm trying to pass on to whoever that I know. If we knew as a human how powerful we are, we could just get whatever we want in our life. Just need to be clear about that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Miral. I think as educators we will agree, but I just want to add a bit here. A lot of people refer to this as a very confused age. These are messy times. It's an age of too many gurus. And we find a lack of clarity. I mean, you were, I think, fortunate, I would say, that you knew what you wanted. Many of the young people we work with are rather confused because, like I said, it's the age of too many gurus. We were fortunate, maybe, many of us on the stage, that we had that one guiding light or that one inspiring person in our lives. Unfortunately, I don't know whether my colleagues on the floor would agree here, our children are struggling because they are confused, because there is that lack of clarity. And with that comes frustration. With that comes what they call struggle, which may not be a real struggle like many of you have talked about, but the end result is despair rather than determination. So that's what I got from you, that there was clarity in what you wanted and you were willing to do what it took to achieve what you wanted, and you knew that there were no free lunches in life. So that's amazing. Yep,
you know, what you mentioned is really correct, and I just want to add, this is the moral 42 years old giving you that. Moral, the one that she was 18 or 20, was full of fears.
Yeah.
She was confused.
Yeah.
The only thing I had was, I will
dream.
not live it. You know, you can be confused. I was confused. Even now, I get confused when there's some topic when I don't know how to take it. Then I will just have my own formula, which I said one step at a time. And then I just set something for myself. And I have to say, when I came here to India in the age of 21, I had to try so many things.
Yep.
And I had to count them as experiences, and not many of them were sweet.
Yes.
You know,
Yep,
it's just
amazing, because
it's a journey.
It's a journey. And I love what you said. It's one step at a time. Scaffolding. It's not climbing Mount Everest. At least start with climbing some rocks. Okay. Coming back to you, Dr. Perez. In today's ecosystem, and I'm sure my colleagues in the room will agree, startups are seen as a manifestation of the dreams and creativity of young people. As an administrator, having oversight of 23 universities, hundreds and thousands of students, what advice would you have for us and for the students and for regulators, administrators, governments? What do you see as the fault lines and the positives of the current ecosystem if we were to say that startups are a manifestation of young people dreaming big and wanting to do what they want to do and achieve their own goals?
There's a lot in that question. Thank you.
Sorry. Apologies.
Yeah, no, you know, I just would say to you that I think that we have to get out of thinking about things as systems. I think that part of the challenge particularly is that oftentimes in education and in higher education, while we say we want people to be innovative and to be inspirational and to think outside the box, most of the messages that we feed individuals in society is don't be different than anyone else.
Yeah.
And what I would say to you that as I examine higher education and the work that we do, I think we place judgments on who should and should not get a degree, who should and should not have higher education. And I think that there's a mirror on us particularly to think about, are we part of a broken system? I would say to you that every day as I think about supporting students is, and I think there's a theme across each of us here, that there are individuals who I think inspired us, supported us,
Correct, yeah.
but really spoke life into us and provided the opportunity where I will say that if we're going to think big, we have to be prepared to not be part of the norm.
Yep.
We have to be prepared to challenge what is often the status quo. And sometimes that means we're alone, that we're going into uncharted territories. And for me, I think the gift of upbringing and experience and what we're talking about is it's having confidence, but I will say most importantly, it's having courage. To have your voice, to give people voice, to do things that people have maybe never done.
That's amazing. And I loved what you referred to, that to be non-judgmental and is critical, isn't it? And it just brings you back to what Einstein said, that the height of stupidity is to assume that you'll get different outcomes by doing the same things the same way. So if we want the startups and innovation and creativity to happen, we can't be giving conflicting messages ourselves. Thank you very much for that. That's really, really important. Mr. Marbaleo, I'll come back to you. Now, with your extensive global experience across so many institutions, what advice would you give to our senior colleagues in schools to become, as you very beautifully said when we spoke the last time, to become the enablers of dreams? How can we ensure that this way of thinking becomes embedded in our communities, in our institutions? How can we do that?
Oh my God! It's a big question for which I think if I give you a recipe, most likely it's going to be wrong. But I truly believe, by observing many institutions all over the world and dialoguing with governments and then speaking to people which are doing policies that are involved in the classroom activities, etc., there are some things that you see constantly happening there. And one thing that is very important for us in education is to be a little bit more humble. What I refer to that, it's more or less related to what you were mentioning before. Educational institutions, in theory, are institutions to push the conventional, to create new ideas, to foster new way of thinking, etc. But let's be very honest. At the same time, we create conditions in order to become highly resistant to change. So we need to be humble in recognizing that we have a problem. And the only way that we are going to be able to be enablers of dreams is by recognizing that we need to do a lot internally. Let me give you one example. If you have a student who wants to transition from one university to another, he or she took a class of Mathematics 101, to put an example. By the time that he or she tries to go to Institution B will be much more stricter than ever in saying, well, that Mathematics 101 from that institution is not as good as mine. The only place in the world that a student can have the best education is in my institution with my teachers. And then you go further and ask the institution, and how do you assure that your teachers effectively are teaching the best mathematics in the world? And we don't know. So I think there is a lot of need in order to become much more humble, less, as we say in Spanish, papistas que el papa, less papis than the pope, if you want. I don't know what might be the expression in English, because I always speak in Spanglish. But also be mindful of the fact that the world is changing so fast that unless we continue, unless we think that we need to be forward on that, we will become these, sclerotic organizations that no longer are going to be the only depositaries of knowledge in the world, as it used to be in the past. And then last but not least, in order to embed those things in the classroom, of course, the key component of that is inspiring teachers. And that's why I truly believe that the work that all of you do in the community of IC3 is fundamental. This idea of enablers of dreams is not something that I created. I just stole that from last year's conference that I attended of IC3.
Thank you very much. So I think it's basically, I think what you said is a call for action for all of us in this room. More self-reflection, definitely. If that's what we want, what do we need to change? We can't ask for change. We can't outsource change. We can't say someone else will come and do it for us. We have to internalize it ourselves. And I think the other thing I picked up, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that what you were talking about is becoming intentional. Having a more deliberate understanding, becoming more intentional, showing greater grit, as you said, Dr. Perez, showing greater grit, self-realization, and saying that, yes, we are not just going to create this world overnight. And I'm just reminded of Sir John Jones, a great educational thinker, who...
By being conscious about that, then we need to think ourselves and to push ourselves to see how we are really preparing students not for the profession, but for life. To me, the critical point is to make sure that students acquire the discipline and the curiosity to continue learning for the rest of their life. If we are able to achieve that very tiny, minor sort of change of the mindset of the students, we are really, truly educating them, because we are enabling them to become the educators of their own journey and their own life. And of course that, among other things, allow us to think that we need to prepare them to be able to recognize that eventually they will have to change professions many times in their life. And this is not something new. This is something that it has been accelerated because the pace of change that we have in today's world. You're probably in this group is not as high as in others, but you will see that. Let me ask this question. How many of you studied something different to what you do today? Look at, almost a half of the educators that are here were not studying to become what they do today. And of course, if we ask the students of today, we have some students there, they should recognize that most likely they are studying for a profession that it doesn't exist today. So this recognition, I think it is very, very important, because then we can focus our learning journey into not only the good in the disciplines, but also the other core competencies that individuals should have. And the last thing that I will say is to be prepared to measure that, because many times we don't know if the students acquire those skills because what we are teaching independently of what we are teaching or despite of what we are teaching.
I love that. Remember what Mark Twain said, never let school interfere in your education. Yeah, that's right. So there's room for one more question. I think we have 4 minutes left. I'll come up with the mic. Tina put a hand up.
So I don't think it's very difficult to get kids to dream. I think it comes very easily to them. But how do we balance their desire to dream and their innate ability to dream with the strong desire their parents have for security and safety, which sort of kills the dream? Yeah.
Careers, financial security. Anybody would like to take that? Okay.
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 You know that what you mentioned is really correct. And I'm going to just tell you how it worked for me and what I'm experiencing with my child now. My mom was very strict. I could dream anything, but my mom had one rule. You do your study. You finish your school. And somehow I aligned that with my dream. And somehow I understood, okay, I do my school, I go to college, I get a job, I earn the money, and that money gonna give me the opportunity to do my dreams. And in some aspect, I agree with you, the kids can dream really easy, but in some aspect, I have to tell you that we need to teach them how to dream. Because my 1-year-old, I love to ask my daughter, what's your dream? Close your eyes, ask your wishes, and I just love that. The first dream that she had was, God, give me banana. And I was just like, okay, dream need to be taught too. Because we can have a small dream, big dream, very big dream, but how we can just get it. And there is a different scenario about a dream and achieving them. Parents had right. And still parents in this age, they have right too, because they want the best for their children. But I think the conversation, the education in both sides can actually help, but the 100% answer is never gonna come true. I'm coming from a generation, the family wanted everyone, every child be a doctor or engineer. Okay, and now we have some kind of job or some kind of roles which never existed in those days. Like the social media and the way people are earning money and doing that. I have a PhD in marketing. And then I go and sit with a 16 years old and what he or she is doing, question each and everything I learned in the university. And being a family or a mother who coming from that background, how much my knowledge is sufficient to understand future, to tell my child what is the right dream. Okay, that's really difficult to navigate, but the only thing is for me, it's just education for the parents, education for the children, and something that we make sure in future they're gonna make it true. And it's that.
Thank you. I think we have to close this now. Oh, I'm looking at Michelle. Do I have permission for the last question? Yeah. Okay, one more question. Okay, all right. Younger and faster and more nimble on the feet, as you can see. I mean, she's a biker, I'm not. Yeah, okay, fine.
I think this answer is going to end very fast because my question is actually, I don't know. I'm Ruchi Seth from Lotus Valley International School. And I've been hearing all these personal stories and very inspiring stories. So I thought I'd share mine. And mine is about not having a dream. That's right.
Not having a dream.
Not having a dream.
Okay, fair enough.
So
fair
my
enough.
parents never said have a dream.
Yep,
I never thought of having a dream.
lovely.
I just flowed with the tide.
Oh,
Okay, flowed with the water,
Yeah.
so to say. And I didn't want to be where I am today, though I enjoy it and love it. The journey's been beautiful. But I was quite happy.
you didn't
being-
start with the dream. You didn't
No,
start with the
didn't.
dream. You
It
didn't start
didn't.
with the dream.
I just wanted to take up some small-time job, and I thought teaching was beautiful because we grew up teaching the children all around, the servants' kids, the maids' kids, etc. And I come from a family of teachers also. So perhaps that made me gravitate towards teaching.
Okay.
But
So
I
the
was quite
question,
happy-
Ruchi, the
quite
question.
happy, married to a man who was being transferred from one place to another, and I kept going from one place to another, picking up
So
jobs.
sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Is your question that, is it okay not to have a dream?
No, my question
Is what?
that from a spiritual point of view, I believe it was the karma that took me where I went.
Okay.
And I got
Panelists,
literally
what's the
picked up
opinion on
for-
that?
I got picked up for heading a school at the age of 32.
So
And
karma and destiny
I resisted.
and not your
After
dream.
I became headmistress, I said no more. And then
May
made me
I?
vice principal.
Yes.
And then
Okay.
principal.
I
and
have
then
to
director
say to
principal.
you that I agree with you. I was having a hard time with the dream statement.
Yeah.
I never
I'm
had
so
a
glad.
dream. Yes. I think we sell dreams that, as we talked about, don't always come true. People don't understand how to get to them. I think it is about living boldly
Yes.
every
Enjoy
day,
every
and the
day.
path will unfold
Just doing
itself
what
to
you
get
want
you
to
where
do.
you, and it will unfold into, but I also think as we start it is a state of mind.
Yes.
It is sitting in this moment and saying, why can't I do this? what am I just staying comfortable, or should I do this? Like, I think we have to encourage our students to think bigger for themselves. And I agree with you. I don't have a dream now. I don't think I ever had a dream.
Okay, so, okay, you want to say something?
No, I just will go back to what I said at the beginning. Dreams and the future is not something that you can guess or extrapolate.
Build.
You build it. You build it. What we do today or we don't is what is going to explain what it will be.
Lovely.
What we are today is explained by what we did and we didn't do in the past. So if we really are making sure that our students have that understanding of their future, their dream become a reality is by basically giving them those tools to recognize the beauty and the challenge of the uncertainty. And that's what it makes our life interesting, fascinating, and also give us hope.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I hear it from my panel, please? So can we conclude, would you agree with me that if the word dream has become a bit contentious, can we safely agree that this house agrees that we want to dare to do, dare to say I can? Can we bring I can into our vocabulary rather than I cannot? Ruchi, would that be good enough? Okay, I can, not whether I can dream or whether I can do.
That's right.
And have the freedom to make choices. Everybody is not free to make choices. Anyway, we can carry on like this and Michelle will just knock me on my head now. So thank you all very much. What an amazing panel. Thank you so very much. What an engaged audience. An absolute pleasure. And I know dreams are a bad word, Michelle, right now. But I know. But can I just end with something that is very close to my heart? The words of T.E. Lawrence. All people dream. She might disagree, Ruchi might, but not equally. Those who dream by night, in the dusty recesses of their minds, wake in the morning to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day, all of you here, the dreamers of the day are dangerous people. For they dream their dream with their eyes open, and they work to make them come true. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.